Greetings, everyone. This is Jeff Wilkerson, Professor of Physics at Luther College, bringing you the next of our What to Look For in the Night Sky series. We're talking about the week of February 20, 2023, working our way towards spring here. Let's turn our attention to the west just after sunset. I hope you've had a chance to watch Venus and Jupiter over in the western sky. We've talked about it in the last couple of weeks. And what's going to happen is this week, so this week into next week is going to be really the week to keep paying attention. And so Venus is going to close that gap down. When this week starts, evening of the 19th, the 20th, 21st, Venus is about 10 degrees below Jupiter when you look to the west. The two brightest dots in the sky looking at the glow of the sunset to the west, you've got Venus sitting about 10 degrees, about a fist width at arm's length below Jupiter. That will be all the way down to about 3 degrees. So it's going to cut that separation. Venus is going to cut that separation with Jupiter by about a factor of 3 as the week progresses. So by Sunday night, the 26th, when you go out and look, that's just over 3 degrees separating them. And as we get into the following week, and we'll, of course, talk more about this in the video next week, Venus is going to go right past Jupiter, and they're going to make just a beautiful pairing, these two super bright objects sliding past each other in the sky. So watching that unfold, starting this week and watching that unfold is going to be a great thing, and I recommend it highly. Now, on the evening of the 22nd, if you're only going to go out one night and watch this, don't go out each night and watch Venus get closer and closer and closer to Jupiter. But if you're only going to go out one night, don't. Wait a minute, we got caught in a loop there. If you're going to go out one night, go out on the evening of the 22nd. So if you go out on the evening of the 22nd, look west just after sunset, the very thin crescent moon, it's only going to be about 10% full. So you're going to have this 10% full moon, just the slenderest, most beautiful of crescent moons. It's going to be sitting right by Jupiter. On that night, Jupiter is going to be about 7 degrees above Venus. So Venus will have moved from about 10 degrees below to about 7 degrees below Jupiter by the evening of the 22nd, and watch for that very thin, beautiful crescent moon sitting right there. Take pictures of it. Take pictures of them, tweet them out. Mention me on Twitter. So let me know that you've done that, and I want to see your pictures of the crescent moon and Jupiter and Venus on the evening of the 22nd if you have clear skies. So that'd be great. The other thing we've been talking about that you can look at, there's this comet that everybody's been observing. It's getting fainter fast. It never was spectacularly bright, but it had a brief moment where it was a little bit brighter than it was other times. It's sliding down by Orion. So as it gets dark, you look straight south, you see Orion. The comet, I've had a good week. We had pretty clear skies this past week. I had a chance to see this thing for the first time, really, and get a look at it and be able to see it, as a smudge of light pretty well in binoculars as it went past Mars and then down past Aldebaran in Taurus, but it's going to just keep sliding down to the south past Orion. So think about Taurus and Mars and Aldebaran and Taurus, and then right on down past the west side of Orion. And so you can maybe still see that if you got good binoculars, but it's going to get harder and harder and harder to see as the week goes by. So that may be in the past for us. Let's turn around and look to the north. Last week, we just briefly mentioned last week, we said, wow, this is a good time to say spring is coming, because you look to the north as it gets dark and there's the Big Dipper climbing up into the sky. And so the bowl of the Big Dipper is standing straight up against the northern horizon for those of us who are northern hemisphere observers. And so you see that bowl climbing up into the sky as it gets dark. Go out 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, and you see the Big Dipper climbing higher into the sky. Let's look at that bowl region just a little bit. So these are the 4 really bright stars that mark the bowl. And so you start up here. That's the Alpha star in Ursa Major. It's about magnitude 1.8. Remember, magnitude system counts backward. You get a factor of 2.5 in brightness for every step. 1.8 is a pretty bright star. So we have stars brighter than that for sure. But we don't have, it's among the bright stars in the sky, and it's Dubhe. Now all these names, all the names of the 4 stars, so it goes Alpha, Beta, Gamma, Delta for these 4 stars in the bowl, and all 4 of those stars have names that are derived from the Arabic. They've been shortened from the Arabic, and they're all related to Bear, Ursa Major, the bear, and Dubhe would be a shortened from the Arabic for just the bear. And then there's different parts of the bear. There's the root of the tail of the bear, and there's the loin of the bear, and there's, so you're describing the bear that is Ursa Major here. And you drop down here to Merak, the beta star, and the beta star is 2.3 magnitude, and you come down here to Phecta is 2.4 magnitude, still really good bright stars, and Delta in it itself is 3.3 magrets. And so that's a pretty good bright star even at 3.3, but it's noticeably fainter than the other 3 stars that mark the bowl of the Big Dipper. So that's the first thing you can do, is go out, identify the Big Dipper, say, yeah, it's getting to be spring. Yeah, we've had great spring weather here, and I was out behind the house just a couple of days ago as I'm recording this, and I was listening to cardinals call, and we've had chickadees feeding their territory for a little while here now, and the cardinals are starting to get pretty aggressive at calling territory in the morning, just as it's getting to be first light. And I was listening to 2 of them talk to each other, thinking, yeah, this is a couple weeks earlier maybe than what we often have. And as I was standing there, right over my head, right over the house, but whack, 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 that had to be a hen mallard. And so we got the hen mallards, we got mallards back, thinking about finding places to nest or moving right on to the north or whatever they're doing. I didn't see her; it was dark enough, but and clearly that duck was motoring as it went over the top of me. But it's spring, and we've got the bowl of the Big Dipper to tell us that it's spring, getting high in the sky in the evening like this. This is great. Now let's go back up here to the beta star, Merak. Merak, if you just drop about 1.5 degrees, so a finger or 1 to 2 finger widths at arm's length, something like that, down to the south and the east. Just drop off Merak. You come to M108. M108, M is these Messier catalog objects. Some people don't include 108 and 109 that we're going to look at in the Messier catalog. Most people do these days. But so Messier was observing in France in the 1700s and made a list of these objects and a lot of galaxies in here. This is a galaxy-rich region of the sky, because this is just above, we're going to get to Virgo and Leo here in the spring sky. This whole region of the spring sky is beautifully rich with galaxies. And M108 is a sort of tilted side-on bright slash of a galaxy. So if you're new, if you got a telescope and you're new at trying to find galaxies, this is a good one to do, because you just drop a degree, maybe an eyepiece field of view or 2 down from Magrets from Merak, and you can start to really see. You can find this slash of a galaxy. So this is a great one to go out and look at. Spiral galaxies, look like this, more or less, and they're thin. They have if you look at them side on, they've got a thin dimension, and so they look narrow when you look at them. This is face on, we would say, and that's side on. That's the disk of the galaxy, but you're looking through. This is thin. You're looking through the thin part of the disk when you look this way. So often these are big on the sky, but they're faint because you're not getting a lot of, you're not adding up. You're not integrating a lot of light as you move through the disk. This way, you're looking through the long, thick part of the disk, and you're integrating a lot of light. So these are often smaller, narrower like this, but big slashes of light. Look for that in M108 in what you're seeing right there. Drop down another 1.5 degrees or so, and you get to M97. M97 is a planetary nebula. It's the Owl Nebula. I think we have a picture of it. I'm sure we have a picture of it on our website. I don't remember if we have a picture of M108 on our website. We've taken some photographs of this region of the sky. But the Owl Nebula, this is a star, a low-mass star that has puffed off its envelope. Its outer layer has been pushed out into space. It's gotten a little bit too far as the nuclear fusion shells get further and further and further out in these asymptotic giant branch stars, these stars that are aging. As these things get pushed further out toward the surface gets pushed further away from the core of the star, and there's a lot of sort of explosive starting and stopping of nuclear fusion going on in there. And as this thing gets pushed further out, at some point it just gets to where it's very tenuously held by the gravity of the star. It's just out there too far and it gets pushed out, it gets blown away. And that's what you see here. This is a pretty good example of a planetary nebula, pretty big. Sometimes these can be real tiny dots of light on the sky, so they're interesting, but they're kind of hard to see that they're not just a star because they're such small things. This is kind of a nice big diffuse one. Again, as it gets diffuse, its brightness gets dimmer, it's harder to see. You're not seeing all that light, all that material added up on top of one another, but that's right there. Down here, if you just drop less than a degree really, below Vecta down this direction, you get to M109, another galaxy. So just dropping off to the south and the east of these two stars on what's going to look like the right side of the bowl as these things are rising into the sky. Just dropping off a little bit to the right and down. See if you can find M109 down this direction. You might be able to get, if you have a nice wide eyepiece field of view on your telescope, you might be able to get Gamma Ursa Majoris here and M109 in the same field of view. That's how close it is. So try that. Over here's an interesting thing. M40 is usually listed over here, the 40th object in Messier's catalog, but there's nothing there. It's the only one. Usually people refer to this as the only genuine mistake in the Messier catalog. So Charles Messier made a list of where objects were, and he missed this one somehow. And so there's just nothing there. We don't know what that is, that M40. So there you go. Enjoy learning this, learn these stars and recognize the subtle difference in brightnesses of the stars of the bowl, and then go out here and look for some of these objects, the Owl Nebula, M108 and M109 galaxies. That's going to be a great way to spend some time. This one, you might be able to see that galaxy in binoculars if you have good binoculars right there. Now, remember that the bowl stars here, the two end stars in the bowl, Dubhe and Merak, point up here to the North Star Polaris. If you go up from Megrez, straight up, right now, as this thing's pointed straight up in the sky, you go straight up from Megrez and over from Polaris, you get to Sigma. And Sigma is a 4.8 magnitude star, so fainter, significantly fainter than the stars of the bowl right here. But, on the edge of visibility, most of us would be able to see it as one of the faintest stars we could see if we've got good dark skies out there, certainly binoculars. A small telescope, if you can find that in a small telescope, Sigma Ursa Majoris, that's a beautiful double star. And so you'll be able to see these two stars. They're in orbit around each other, and you can pull those apart. And that's a great thing to try to get to right there. So that's what we got. Let's explore Ursa Major this week a little bit. If you want to take a last shot at trying to see that comet as it's fading and disappearing, do that. But by all means, check out the moon with Jupiter and Venus. And I hope you have a great week, everybody. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll have something new and maybe the same, maybe different for you next week. Take care.